Hola! See, I can talk Spanish. For those of you who went to St. Catherine's Academy, I did go there for like 2 years and 3 months, and I did take Spanish, so I know a little bit. My teacher was Sor Cristina. Well, today I'm speaking a little bit of Spanish because we're going to try to make Los Tres Leches cake. You're watching the Bear Pantry Show. I didn't plan on doing a show today, but because I got invited to a party for later on this evening, I decided that I wanted to make this tres leches cake because if it comes out good, we can have it like a little nibble just to taste it. Then I can cut the rest and whisk it down to the party because I don't want any sweets to be left in the house between now and Christmas. This is the first part of December, and basically we are being good with our carbs and our sweets because we want to have a treat for Christmas, and 2 days after that is Jada's awesome birthday. And we also want to be able to celebrate her birthday with some cake and fondant and all that good stuff. Now to Angie, my little friend over there in Australia, thank you so much. Your package came today. Look at my beautiful necklace. I know this was not for Jada, so if she thinks this is for her, it's going to be on. Because you know I love dragonflies. Look, see? Look over there, Jada. See my dragonfly? A very good friend of mine gave me that dragonfly right when I started the Bear Pantry Show, and I just thought it was awesome, so I put it there at a place of pride in my kitchen, and the picture underneath that is a hot chili pepper. My dad was a photography in his yesteryear. These are the ingredients that we are going to use. Now I know there's a lot of different ways to make this cake, and I've tried it a couple times before, and to tell you the truth, I didn't like it. And I've tried it from different people, and I've loved it from certain people and hated it from others. So we're going to do it my way, okay? We're going to start off with all-purpose flour, and you can use cake flour for this, but you know at the Bear Pantry Show we use what we have. The only difference between all-purpose flour and cake flour is how many times it's sifted. So this is all-purpose flour. This is 2.5 cups. If I'm wrong, I'm going to put it in the graphic. We've got some white sugar, and this is 2 1/3 cup. And then we have baking powder right here. We're not going to be using baking soda, but baking powder. This is 1 tablespoon. And see, I have my little measurements over here. And fly with me, you guys, today, okay? Because we bought a new camera, and we don't know that we're going to be using this all the time for the show, but it's an awesome new digital still camera that Jada forced me into buying for Christmas. And so we're going to like not have it on the stand, and we're going to try to just fly by the seat of our pants. Now I've got my 5 eggs that I use like when I make my regular white cake, but I've separated them like when we made the black cake because I'm going to show you why in a little while. And I've got butter, and it's 1 cup plus 1/8 cup. And if I'm not mistaken, 1/8 cup is like a couple of tablespoons, but I'll check that too first to give you the translation or so on for that. We're going to use evap milk to make our cake, but because this is Los Tres Leches cake, three milks cake, we're also going to be putting, we're going to be doing something when the cake's done. And so we're going to need 1 can of evap milk, 1 can of sweetened condensed, and I have this measuring cup because we're going to measure some regular whole milk in this, or you can use heavy cream. I don't like it with the heavy cream. I've tried it before. It's not as sweet as if you do it with the other milks. So this is off into its little side here. This is what's going to go inside the cake, and we're going to use 1 can of the evap milk. And we're going to use pineapple extract. You can use vanilla, but honestly, I just really love the pineapple extract in the cakes. So let's get started with my cake mixer here. And if you don't have one of these, you're going to be using your hand cake mixer, okay? And I'm going to use that at a later date, not at a later date, later on in this recipe. We're going to be using the hand one to just fluff up the egg white to make like a meringue. So we're going to start off here by dumping our butter in. And here we have the 1/8 cup and the sugar. And if you wonder why my measurements are so weird, is because when I used to make this cake before, I used to measure with coffee cups. You know, in Belize we don't have measuring utensils, at least we didn't when we were growing up, so we'd measure everything with coffee cups. So when I was writing the cookbook, let me show you this coffee cup first. Isn't this just beautiful? Joe made this for me at the shop because you know we silk screen plastic bottles for a living, so he silk screened the coffee cup with my logo. And look, on the back I have a recipe for Belizean fried jacks, and I'm going to try to be making some of these. I guess I'm going to start merching some of the stuff as we can go along. But I showed you the coffee cup to let you know that we used to use coffee cups for measurement. So when I was doing the cookbook, I kind of had to go in there and make what do you call it, like a chart and I had to measure with the coffee cups, measure with the teaspoons. Remember when we used to measure with spoons like this? You know, Belizeans, you know we measure with the spoons that we make coffee with, and the spoons, you know, teaspoons and so on, we measure with those. So I had to measure those things, take the actual measuring utensils, and go on ahead and measure them, make a chart, and then I would go back and see, okay, this equals this, and so on and so on. So that's why, unfortunately, I don't even know how to put it in metric, but I know how to get it from Belizean to regular measurements. So that's why the measurements are so odd, like a cup plus an eighth cup. I mean, you wonder, what's up with that? But you really need this eighth cup. Don't use the wrong cup like Jada did one time. Jada's behind the camera, she's gonna hit me. She did one time, she knows that my cups are color coordinated, and for some reason she thought the 8 cup was this one, right? The 1/3 cup? Was it? She thought the 8 cup was the green one instead of the yellow one because she didn't look at the little thing there, and she overput too much butter and the cake came out all crumbly and she was so disappointed, but you know what, we still ate it. So anyways, over here we have the sugar and we have the butter, and we're just going to go ahead and turn this on and let it cream for about 15 to 20 minutes. Somebody unplugged me here. I bet you it's Joshua when he did his breakfast. This is the trouble we have here at the Beer Pantry Show. Every time I'm trying to do a show, somebody's trying to make something else. So we're just gonna let that cream, and we're gonna use our spatula to clean up the edge as we go along. And so I'm gonna see you guys in about 15 minutes. So here's our sugar and butter. We allowed it to cream for about 15 minutes. I took the spatula every now and again and kind of just wiped around so it could all get creamed in here. And here I am adding the 5 eggs. You can add them one at a time. A lot of cake recipes will say add it one at a time and mix it in. You don't have to. There's no hard, fast rule about that. And what you want to do is go ahead and put this back on and have it get mixed in well with the sugar and butter. And in the meanwhile, I want to show you guys what I'm going to be doing while that's going. I have my egg whites here, and this is the whites off of the same 5 eggs. And all I'm going to do, kind of like when we made our black fruit cake, we're going to go ahead and turn this hand mixer on because the other one is being used. And we're just going to go ahead and whip this to a meringue, like when we're making lemon meringue pie, because I want to work this into the cake to make us have a cake that has more body and more fluff. So see you guys in a few minutes. See how I'm multitasking, you guys? Not only am I whipping this to a meringue, but my cake's also going over here. Now while our cake is being mixed, we want to come to the oven and we want to set it on 350 degrees and start so that it can preheat. Some people start this as the first part of their cake making or any type of baking, but I don't ever do that. I always come at some point halfway through what I'm doing and I just get it going because this preheats pretty quick. And so let's go back to the counter and see how the batter is coming along. So I'm adding the 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And again, we set this and mix. You know, this thing really needs like one of those guards. It never came with it, but it really needs one of those guards because no matter what I do, it kind of splatters and make a big old mess. So what I do sometimes is I get a rag, like a dish towel, and I kind of cover it while I'm making stuff. You know, you kind of have to make do. My Uncle Les gave this to me back in Christmas 1991, and he's been gone since 2002, so I kind of I'm so glad to have this, you know, part of him in my kitchen with me. You know, if he were alive, oh my Lord, everybody would know about the Bear Pantry Show. And what I'm doing, by the way, guys, while I'm talking is I'm adding a little bit of flour at a time. I want to go ahead and add this now because we don't want to forget, you know, to add our extract. I don't want to put too much because what I hate the most is when people show up to a party and they bring a cake and the cake just tastes just of extract. So I'm going to pour 10 ounces of this evaporated milk here into this measuring cup, okay? So I hope this is coming out good because Jada is the one running my new camera. And all I'm doing is adding a little bit of flour, let it get mixed in well, add a little bit of the evaporated milk, let that mix in well, and we just kind of work it back and forth till we get it all in there, and then I'm going to show you what we do with those egg whites. All right, so see this whole mess? A lot of people, when they cook, they don't like to measure things into little container like I do here. And I didn't like doing it at first either, but I learned when I went to St. Catherine's Academy and I took home ec, I learned that that's how you measure stuff when you're cooking, especially baking, because you don't want to miss one of the ingredients. And if you're like looking at the recipe and the ingredients and stuff, and you're like going, okay, put this, put that, I promise you're going to forget one of the ingredients. So that's why you kind of always want to have your stuff measured out. Yeah, you're going to have a whole bunch of mess to clean when it's all done, but at least your item is going to come out good. So here what we have here, this is my batter that I made, and I'm just going to fold the egg whites into the batter. And the reason that we did this and separate it and fold it in is because we want the cake to be a little bit more spongy, because we want it to be able to absorb all that milk that's going to be poured on top of it when this cake is done baking. So remember that I had set my oven to preheat, and it's ready for me. And I'm just going to put my batter. I want to see if this is too thin, too thick. You know, like I said, I've made the tres leches cake before using other people's recipe, and I really didn't like it. To me, the cake wasn't like sweet enough, and then it just got so wet and soggy, and cake didn't have any body to it. So what I'm using is my cake recipe from my book, the one that's for light cake, but I separated the yolk from the white. That's the only thing I did different. And I'm gonna bake this right now. It's probably gonna take about 30-35 minutes to bake, and then we're gonna put the topping to show you how we do the 3 milks part of it. So let me get my baking pan that I'm going to use, and let's pour a batter in it. So this is my pan that I'm going to use. It's already buttered and floured, or greased and floured, and it's 13 by 9 by 2 deep, or for centimeters they have here 33 by 22 by 9 by 5. Oh Lord, no wonder I don't do metrics. Very complicated. Anyways, we're going to pour our batter in. You notice our batter is not too thin, but it's not too thick either. And I'm just going to get this all cleaned out. We're going to bake it on 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 to 35 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted comes out clean. We don't want this cake too thin, because remember, we're going to really douse it with a bunch of liquid when it's done. We don't want it too thick either, because what's going to happen is that after the liquid soaks through, the cake's going to be moist from halfway to the bottom, you know, because the liquid falls to the bottom, and then from the halfway to the top mark is going to be dry. So we don't want it too thick, not too thin, so that's why I'm using it with a pan that's only 2 inches deep. I'm going to get something to clean all this off. And I'm going to put it in the oven, and when I come back in about a half hour or so, we're going to move on to the next stage of our cake. So what I did here, the leftover evaporated milk that I had from when I was doing the cake batter, remember I used only 10 ounces from a, let me see how many ounces, from a 12-ounce can. So that's 2 ounces. I poured it in there, and I'm just going to pour this to about, I'd say a cup. We need more, we'll know. So we're going to use 1 can of evap, 1 can of sweetened condensed, and a cup of whole milk. That's going to be our tres leches. I'm going to make some quick frosting to go on top of our cake while our cake bakes, okay? I'm using right here confectioner sugar, 2 cups, half a teaspoon of some vanilla extract, 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine, whichever one you have will work, and 2 tablespoons of whole milk. Let me just dip it out of this bowl, and then I'm going to put this flat beater on my KitchenAid here. Just kind of whip it up. Just some quick frosting. See what I tell you with this KitchenAid it needs. You put it on the lower one. It really and truly needs like a lip. I'm going to have to invest in that. And I don't know how much the camera can see, but it's getting worked in there, and I'm going to keep an eye to see if we need a little bit more milk, but we might not. Put a little bit of it. I don't want it like to become a dough. You know, I want it to be a cream. So I put like half a tablespoon more milk right there just now. I think that looks good. You don't want a whole lot, so we're just going to kind of spread it thin on top of the cake. So this is done. Look at our beautiful cake. It's out of the oven. It's still hot. I don't want to mess with it until it has time to cool down for about 10-15 minutes. And I'm going to get a knife and kind of separate it from the edge. And it should come out fairly easy because we had it greased and floured. I'm going to dump it out on this cooling rack. We always want the top side of the cake, see how beautiful this is? we always want the top side of the cake to be on the bottom when we're going to start decorating the top, because what that does, like if this is the bottom now, and then we put the icing on the other side, and I'll show you when we get to that, then you're actually covering up the ugly side of the cake. And so then you have beautiful icing on the ugly side or frosting on the ugly side, and then you have the bottom so gorgeous and pretty. So we want this to be the bottom. After it's cooled a little bit, I'm going to flip it over, have it cool on the rack, and we're going to move it to our next tray and move on with what we're going to do for this cake. So it's been about 10 minutes later, and I dumped it out from the pan that it was baked in, and it's just sitting here in the cooling rack. And even though I'm calling this the ugly side, it is gorgeous. This cake came out beautiful. So I'm going to allow it to cool for another about 20 minutes to a half hour before we move on to adding the 3 milks into the cake. So it's cooled sufficiently, and I put it in our little, shallow pan right here. I didn't want to bake it in this pan because this was not deep enough. See how much taller than the pan the cake is? But this is just to apply the milks, all right? So I have a fork here, and it's one that the prongs are pretty wide open right here. I don't like the long, narrow ones. And we just want to go and poke all the way through to the bottom. Make sure you feel that the fork has touched the bottom of the cake, okay? And we're pretty much going to do this throughout the entire cake, because that's how we're going to allow the milk to seep through and really moisturize this entire cake. So this is all I'm going to be doing for the next few minutes. Just going to poke the holes in our cake here. When we start applying the milk, we want to do that slowly. We don't just want to like toss the whole big jug and watch it just kind of like run off of the cake into the pan. We want to pour it ever so slowly so that the cake can absorb the milk, all right? I used to think, when I heard about Tres Leches cake, I used to think that they just used 3 different types of milk to make the batter, right? I didn't realize that they used 3 different types of milk to just pour on top of the cake. Just want to put breathing holes everywhere. So there it is, beautiful. And remember I told you I was going to use a whisk, so I did. And the milk is totally blended up well. This is why I told you want something with a spout, to pour, because you don't want to make, what? Hey, I've got something with a spout. Let's improvise, you guys. Let me throw this in the sink. I'm just going to pour it a little bit at a time in our measuring cup. See? The spout thing is what we need to pour it good. You know what? How come you guys didn't tell me that? Because you guys can't talk back to me. One of these days, see how it's going in? So it's going to be very time consuming, but you kind of want to pour it a little bit. You don't want it to be running off into the pan, which some is going to end up in the bottom of the pan anyways, but you kind of want this cake to get it all the way through. As I was saying before I interrupted myself just now, that one of these days I want to do a live show with you guys. I don't know how I could do it as a cooking show per se, because I think there's an adapter or something I would have to buy to hook up to my camera, because most of the people who do the live shows, they sit there with their laptops on their leg, right? And they use the camera from the laptop to just talk with you. And perhaps in the beginning that's the way we're going to have to do it. If you guys are interested in doing some type of a live feed one of these days, just hit me up a comment on this video and say, yeah, I'm interested. And then I'm going to go through the task of finding out how to do it, if it's by Skype or if it's Google+. I know that YouTube have a thing up on the top when you go to your YouTube that says make the show live right now or whatever. But when I click on that, it usually goes to Google+. So that's basically what it is. You create like a hangout. And I don't mind doing that. I'd like to speak with you guys face to face, see what you look like, hear your accents, get feedback, find out what you guys want me to make next. Some of the things I don't know how to make, but I will learn. We plan to take a trip to Belize in March of 2013. And when we go, my sole purpose, the kids are going to be vacationing. My sole purpose is going to be hitting up these old people for their recipes, like for cote brute and tableta and fufu and all the things that I don't know how to make yet. But I promise you I'll learn. So for the rest of this milk and the milk that's in the jug left over, this is all you're going to be doing, all right? Just pour all this milk on top. When it's all settled and saturated, that's when we're just going to rub the frosting on. So as you can see, this cake is not going to be like thin slices. This cake is going to be cut in squares when you serve it to people. So this is not going to serve too many people. But you know what? The host did not know that I was bringing something to the party. And so basically, the people who get there first, the early birds, are the ones that are going to catch the most worm with this right here. Whoever get there first is going to get a piece of this cake. Who gets there too late, as most Belizean people do when they go to parties, just not going to get anything. And so I'm glad I didn't time myself into promising to bring something. See, I'm going a little bit too fast. Some of it's just pouring off. And so this is all we want to do. Take our time and pour the milk. All right, here's our finished product. One big chunk of our tres leches cake. And this is how I always see it served, with one maraschino cherry on top. Look. Doesn't it look moist inside? Beautiful, huh? Let's take a look at how the rest of the cake looks, because I just cut that piece out. See, this is the rest. Look, I wanted to show you the inside. See, some of the milk did get on the bottom here, but that's okay. But look, I don't know if you can see when I touch it. See, it's moist. And like, it's not like bread pudding like Joe says. It's a wonderful, awesome cake. So I'm going to cut the other piece up like that. Put it in something that I can carry it in. And basically, that's what we're going to have. Yay! Oh, by the way, the Belize word of the day is kunku. It sounds funny, right? Joe's over there going, what? Kunku. And kunku means small or little. And it's really like little bitty. Kunku. No, guys, see how good it came out. I have to go get ready now for the party, but I really enjoyed doing this quick show. I hadn't planned on doing a show today, like I've told you, but Jada says, let's try out the new camera, and I hope it came out good because I have not been able to check anything on the way, but I think it's awesome. That's my Christmas gift, and we can start using it in the show now and again, but I really got it for the still shots, to do the still shots of the food. So I want to thank you guys as always for watching, for picking up the book, for commenting, for getting involved with my giveaway. And check my store at my website every now and again, bearpantryshow.com or thebearpantryshow.com, whichever one, because I'm going to start adding new merchandise as we go along. So far I just have 2 books, but as Jada's book come out and then my other books and so on, I'm just going to start adding merch to that store, okay? Until I see you again, take care. Wait, Jada, in Spanish. Hasta luego. Que le vaya bien.